We'll get this started. Thank you, councillors, and I apologise for the late start today. So I declare this meeting open, and I'd like to welcome Robin Clark, MLA member for Murray-Wellington, in our gallery. Thank you, Robin, for visiting us today. And of course everyone else in our gallery, welcome, and those that are online. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as the notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer's recommendation stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and will be uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Procedural motion. I put forth the following: that council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5, members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking to improve the quality of the audit recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder for that, Councillor Holly? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I have record of apologies from Councillor Crispin and Councillor Boyland. Councillors, are there any applications for leave of absence? No, thank you. Declarations of members and officers' personal interest are up on the screen. Councillors, are there any additional declarations? Councillor Carboni.
I'll declare impartiality interest in item 12.1.1, the Brunswick River Cottages, as I'm a member on that committee, and I'll stay in the council and deal with that on its merits. Same with the 12.5.1, the Sport and Recreation Plan, partiality interests. I'll stay in the chamber as I'm a member of Harvey Brunswick Football Club and the immediate past president.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Are there any others? Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, I would also like to add impartiality for 17.1.1, the YOLO workshops. And that's impartiality, and I'll stay in chambers and vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Any others? Thank you, councillors. Did you get all those minutes taken?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. 5. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. 6. Response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. Okay. 7. Public question time. I'd like to invite Robin Clark, MLA, forward for her question. Welcome, Robin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I just acknowledge the traditional notice before I start? My question is in regards to the Leschenol Sporting Precinct, in regards to the cricket turf that's meant to be installed on the precinct in front of the pavilion. I just want a clear timeline of indication of works. Have you looked at a contractor, when the completion will happen? And just to reiterate that I know that there's been ongoing changes to the plans in the precinct, but I've just got concerns that it's going to fall short of the timeline to be installed by December 2024, and the Shire of Harvey at the risk of losing $100,000 from the state government, as well as the Leschenol Cricket Club losing money from the WACA that they also got on the back of the $100,000 from the state government.
Thank you, Robin. I'll pass that to the CEO.
Thanks to the member, Murray Wellington, for the question. There's no doubt the project is in lag, and there's no doubt there's been some complications in getting started. The report that's up tonight around the sport and recreation plan will make a final determination as to whether the project proceeds or not. There is a recommendation in the report tonight that recommends a plan be brought back to Council by May in relation to how it will be achieved in terms of timelines, because there's no doubt there's a fair degree of time to put a pitch in, but there's also some impact on a considerable number of users of Oval 6 at the same time. So I would be proposing that if a resolution is adopted tonight, that we'll be meeting with the group to try and work out a way we can deliver it as quickly as possible, as if Council adopts it tonight. But I have to say, having had meetings recently with the Cricket Association, you really can't start that until next summer. So it would be start next summer, then leave fallow for 12 months and then go back in the following summer and complete the works. And the complication with that, of course, is in the meantime, 600 or 700 juniors who play on that oval, somehow will have to play around it or over it during its construction time. And just want to make sure that implementation plan can work, and that's what we propose to bring back to Council in May this year.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Okay, another question by Mr. Michael Mamo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Michael, did you want to come forward?
Good evening. My name is Michael Mamo. I reside at 500 Mitchell Road, Wokelup, the immediate residence next door to the proposed telecommunications tower. My first question today is, I would just like to know, as an immediate resident, why, since the proposal was agreed to move upon, continue planning and move forward, since it was initially proposed and we voiced our opinion against it, we haven't received any proposition including strategic design plans, site location, environmental reports or any health reports. It wasn't brought to my attention that the meeting would be discussed and the deciding fate of that telecommunication tower would be until today. I'd like to voice my opinion, as my neighbours Robbie and Margaret Cooper are sitting next to me and they own the land which the tower is supposed to be built upon. I agree that it should be, I can't voice this enough, that there should be sustainable emergency services calls are made to be, that should be able to be made from their place of residence. But there should be also, my underlying questions as an immediate neighbour should be answered respectfully. And also we should be given a report as to all the other potential site locations that could be built to achieve the same outcome for them and the reasons why those site locations cannot be used.
Thank you, Mr. Mamo. I'll pass that through the CEO to Mr. Hall.
Thanks, Madam President. Mr. Mamo, look, I have gone through correspondence and note that the previous resolution of Council was actually to engage with affected landowners in terms of additional information and providing some technical information. I am apologising on behalf of the administration that it appears that that didn't go to all the neighbours, of which you were one of them, and as a result we are having a look at some of the options with regard to how we can proceed with this application, and I'm sure that that will play out through the rest of the meeting this afternoon. But on behalf of the administration, I can unfortunately confirm that that information wasn't provided to you. It is available to be provided to you. We've had that discussion. I'm happy to have a further discussion with you.
Okay, no further questions. I'll move into petitions, deputations and presentations, which we have a number of today. So I would like to invite Mrs. Margaret Cooper to speak in regards to item 12.3.12. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Margaret Cooper. I was here last Tuesday at the agenda meeting and I thought I would like to put my point across about the mast on 546 Mitchell Road. It's my home, so. I was born from farming stock and I've farmed most of my life, which, as you can see, wasn't a while ago. I just want to express my feelings about the mast. Money has been talked about and I am going to say that if anybody thinks it's about money, I will put the first year's payment to a charity of my choice as long as it's matched in the same way by the person suggesting I get a vast sum for the mast. I don't want the mast, and I really have discussed this with Sue, will tell you that they have assured me that they need to put it on the back of our land so that it links properly to the towers that you've already passed and given permission for on 145 Forest Road, Uduck, and in Brunswick on farmland. If they go and put the tower on the 7,000 hectares and it's lined up, it will range, and I would be happy, but it doesn't. It's 2 kilometres too far out for it to work. I'm not an engineer or technical person at all, so how can I say that that's the truth? To be fair, I very much hope I'm not being misled by Swoop. I really do not need this stress in my life. All I'm asking for is to be able to call 000. I don't think that's a lot, is it really? And maybe talk without dropping offline. I just need someone to tell me that I will definitely be able to do this, and the mast can go anywhere you like, anywhere at all. I have informed Swoop of my intentions, and if they don't say in plain English that that cannot go on and the gas go onto the gas towers, I will be having no more to do with the mast. Hence, I had a phone call from Swoop, and they informed me that they have notified you in English instead of all the technical terms. So now all I really want is for myself and my neighbours to be kept safe, and a reasonable chance to alert the emergency services 000, which doesn't seem to be too much to ask when I live quite close to a town. Thank you very much. Is there any questions? No.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks a lot.
May I ask Mr. Stemmers to come forward for his deputation? Oh, we're going for Anne, have we?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Mrs. I'll say Mrs.
That's okay, Anne. You're right, Anne. Sorry, that's a little bit exercise
I am a
there.
bit
We'll get
deaf.
round to Wayne. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a bit deaf.
Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully you can hear me today. At the last briefing session, I tried to impress on you how the State Planning Policy 5.2 clearly states that these towers should be co-located where possible on an existing tower or in another infrastructure corridor. I think you've got that point. Since then, we've had a visit from the chap, Noah Radke, who represented Swoop. He came out and spoke to us about the tower in general. Never once did he say that it couldn't go on the gas pipeline tower. In fact, he said if it was up to him, he said it'd make his job very easy. He actually installs the apparatus onto the towers. So he said it'd be easy, he'd just have to drive his ute up, he'd have to put the gear in, and job's done, too easy. I don't know why Swoop didn't apply in the first place to do, they must know the rules. Why didn't they try and co-locate in the first place? If they had done it, we got our application we got a notification from the council to say, there was this application for this tower to go on a block. That was in last August. And I would presume that Swoop has been working on this for some time. So if they'd just done the right thing, like 12 months ago, 18 months ago, whenever it was they first decided they were going to build these towers, if they'd just done the right thing then and fitted that tower into their program, and they had applied to the gas pipeline people, apparently the chap that came and spoke to us, this Noah Radke, he said one of the problems is that these sort of, when you try and locate, it seems to take forever, it takes a long time. But if they'd done that in the first place, gone by the rules in the first place, the approval would have been through by now. And Noah could have gone out there, driven in his utes and popped the stuff up, and it'd all be running, and that particular tower would be. And then they would have had to put in an application back to the Shire. You wouldn't have to be making this horrible decision, and we would be getting some decent sleep at night. The other point, I keep hearing about funding, that they're getting government funding, and I still don't really understand. They say it's like it's a problem that they've got funding, but if they don't build the tower, then they shouldn't need funding to build a tower. So I can't quite add it all up. And I just think that if they are taking funding to fund a tower that shouldn't be being built, that funding it's not like a bottomless pit. It's taxpayers' money and it shouldn't be wasted. So I just ask you all to think very carefully about this and try and find out a bit more about it all and do your best to get that tower where it should be, which is on the in the industrial area or on the gas pipeline tower. The gas pipeline tower is a huge tower. It's not 40 metres as this one would be. It's probably more like 70 metres and only has 2 pieces of apparatus on it that we can see. And as I say, this Noah Radcliffe never ever hinted that in the slightest way or that it would not be suitable. He just went and we had some contacts with the gas pipeline people and we gave them to him and he was happy to contact them and move forward. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Mrs.
questions?
Stammers. Any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Stammers.
Thank you.
Mr. Stammers, did you want to add anything onto that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please come forward.
Thanks for letting me talk tonight. I did prepare quite a lot of paraphernalia on trying to prove that the new tower infrastructure should be either on the gas pipeline tower or it should be in the industrial area. And I spent a lot of time on that. But I think after speaking to someone outside a minute ago, I think we all agree on that. I think we all agree it should be there. But I don't think I have to labour the point anymore because we've got I did the state planning policy for you. I've outlined on there exactly what the intention of and the vibe is from this. The vibe is to try and reduce the problems caused by these towers, and 2 of the ways is to go on to existing tower or go into industrial area, not go in front of people's houses like this does, right? Because Michael here just built a brand new house, and you should see where that tower's going to go. Right in his view, it's going to be terrible, and it's 40 metres tall. It's 12 stories high. So I think everyone I probably don't have to convince you that's where the thing should go. So I thought the tower would be a no-brainer because in the November, this is the 4th time fifth time now we're stood in front of you, so I just about family with you guys, but we're glad once over. I can have a decent day without worrying all the time. I spent must have hundreds of hours on this. We spent a lot of time with Noah from SWIP, and I thought we were getting somewhere. And talking to Mr. Hall here, he said he'd let us know how it's all going, and I was communicating with him, telling him how we're going with it, and communicating with Noah, the tower folk, and he was happy to he said, we'll get onto this gas pipeline people, because thanks for, because I arranged some meetings with them, and all of them was going honky-dory, and Mr. Hall said he'd let me know what's going on, and I was letting him know what I was doing. Next thing you know, I got this last Friday before the other meeting, I get out of the blue, I get this notification that a new site's been chosen, and I understood from the President here and everyone else, and from the minutes, that we were going to be involved in the location of the new site. And guess what? Behind my back, while I was working with one Noah mob, you people were working with another Noah mob to come up with something else without even letting me know. So that wasn't too good. But at a meeting in November, I said, why not put the infrastructure onto the gas pipeline tower? And the answer from over here was, we have repeatedly asked the gas people, repeatedly he said, repeatedly asked the gas people to co-locate, and they rejected it every time, right? So when it comes to the crunch, I thought, well, wonder why the gas people won't to go on there, because it makes sense for it to go on there, because it's a great big tower, we can see it. And got on to the gas people, and they said, well, we've never been asked. And we quite happy to let it happen. Like, what's going on here? And so the reason why it couldn't be put on the tower in November was because the gas people wouldn't allow it. Okay, so I get on to people and say, look, the gas people will allow it, right? So now, this last contract meeting, no, it's not because the gas people will allow it, because I've proved that they will. Now it's going to cost too much. It's going to take too long, and we have to rearrange our stuff, right? There's the three things that are on your notes, on your what do you call it, notes? That's the three reasons why I can't go on the gas tower, right? And towards the end of the meeting, Mr. Hall here piped up and says, well, before that, the gas pipeline man stood here last week and said, because one of the councillors asked, why can't it go on the tower or industrial area, and the gas pipeline man said, well, it's not our policy, right? So now we couldn't go because the shift of the goal court was pretty hard to argue here. Couldn't go because it wouldn't allow it, but it can. Going to cost too much. Not our policy now. That's the reason. And then towards the end of the meeting, Mr. Simon Hall here says, nah, it's a funding problem, right? It's a funding problem. Well, Jesus, funding problem. I'm just about going under upon all the blows. And now, because all those things are rubbish, right? Now, well, I said, well, in that case, put it on the into the industrial area, because that's only very close to us there. And the chap stood here, I think he said something like, it can't go there because the Campbell Park, it doesn't work in the Campbell Park, right? Well, that's what he said. I think he actually probably meant the Kemerton industrial area, but he didn't know what it's called, this expert. And so I think what now they might say, because they've been meeting on all the other things they said, is it won't work. It won't work, and it's like Margie just said, it won't work, and it goes exactly there, right? It's a new one now. It wasn't on before. Why wasn't it on before? If it could work on the gas pipe, if it couldn't work on the gas pipeline tower, why did they make all those other? Why did they say right from the start won't work, right? Why did they make all those other built-up stories up about why they couldn't put it on there? So I'm beat. I think that I'm a bit worried about the swoop, whether they actually just how truthful they are, to tell you the truth. And I think, in the interest of good judgment, with the Rockingham Shire, they've got their own policy on, and it's a very good policy, and I reckon you should have one the same, but they've got their own policy on infrastructure towers. That's a good policy, not a very long tower policy, but it's a nice policy. In that policy they say, we expect people to put their infrastructure on existing towers, right? And we won't accept their word for it, that they can't put it on there. We want independent, expert people to tell us that. There must be some funny business going on with this tower company by the sound of it. I think I'll be happy if Swoop could we can get some independent expert advice on whether Swoop is actually truthful about this fact that apparently the microwave component, the towers can communicate with one another. I've done a bit of research on it. The towers can communicate with one another with using microwave. And apparently the microwave goes 50 kilometres, according to my research. So, we'll run out of time as well.
Just about, Mr. Stammers, yeah.
And
Did you want to
thanks-
finish up, or that's it?
Thanks for
My pleasure. Yeah.
listening to me, and I hope you can support me, that's all.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Stammers. Thank you. Okay, Michael, would you wish to come forward and make a deputation over and above? I've got you down here for a deputation. Did you wish to say anything? You can come forward, please.
As previously said before, I'm not against the tower. Do I think that there has been lack of evidence demonstrating various location sites where the same thing could be achieved without interrupting anything else? I certainly haven't, and Mr. Hall's owned up and said that, thank you. I certainly haven't received anything. I just don't think that a decision like this can be made without involving everybody in the local community around it, and there's obviously policies and procedures within Shire that needed to be abided by before something like this can be passed, and they haven't been abided by. If all that information comes to life and there is no other option, I do agree that Mr. and Mrs. Cooper deserve to have access to emergency services and basic fundamentals of living, and I'll deal with that, but I just don't see if there's another option why it hasn't been explored. And without seeing that in writing and any evidence, I mean, anyone can stand up and tell me, but I think if this was all of your lives and your real estate and your houses and that sort of thing, you'd all be turning around and saying, well, a handshake deal with somebody you've never met from Sweep Company means nothing unless it's in writing. So I think it's fair as a neighbour to be given that information, and all I want is an environmental report, a health report, and an actual proposal demonstrating the site location. It doesn't need constant servicing. Is there any hazards that could go wrong? If all of those boxes are ticks and it can't go on a different site, then the tower goes in. You know what I mean? That's what they deserve. So, but it hasn't. You guys haven't done the due diligence. I'm sorry.
Noted, and thank you, Mr. Nemo, for your deputation. Alrighty, Mr. Paul Gillett on item 12.5.1, Sport and Rec Plan. Welcome back to the chamber, Mr. Gillett.
Thank you, Madam President. Good to be back. That seat suits you. Councillors and staff. This is just in regard to 12.5.1. It's fairly tame, so it won't. The acting director won't have anything to worry about. While it's been reported that the precinct to be well drained and made a high priority, and that any separation of ovals is not a priority at all, and best managed at an operational level for the benefit of all user groups of both the HRCC and the HRG. It's also stated in the report that a separation of ovals which was given the highest priority does not seem to meet any of the required criteria, should be removed from the table. Unfortunately, Harvey Bulls Footy Club, we do not agree with these statements and see that the next stage of the draining works and oval remediation will provide a playing field that will allow for all sports to obtain oval separation now and well into the future for all user groups of the HRG. It's also acknowledged that the funds that have been provided in the Forward Capital Works plan for a drainage solution, we certainly feel that it would be a missed opportunity not to take into account the cricket wicket location, which has reached its use by date in the report, and potential soccer fields. The Harvey Bulls Footy Club is certainly happy to utilise a smaller sized oval in their pre-season with the use of sleeve posts and potentially a goal net to allow for all sports to utilise a wonderful facility all year round. The current footy season, sort of including pre-season, runs for near on 40 weeks now, so it certainly puts a lot of strain on our ovals and user groups. We do, however, agree, so it's not all bad news, agree with the addendum that an additional wicket to be located at the southern end of the playing field at the HRG is not supported, so we're pretty happy with that. But we would also, on a lighter note, really like to thank the Shire for the previous drainage works at the Oval and the work done to the Arthur Marshall stand. I think it has made a huge improvement. So we do acknowledge that we are playing a winter sport and it does rain most winters, so But as a club, we certainly look forward to working closely with the Shire and all user groups to improve the amenities at the Harvey Rec Ground. They're of a high standard, and we do have some good projects coming forward. So we certainly look forward as a club to working collaboratively with all groups. So thank you, Madam President. I think it was a tartan for a late start.
Thank you. Alrighty, announcements made by presiding members or the CEO without discussion. Councillors, it is with great sadness that the Shire of Harvey acknowledges the passing of the former Shire President, Maidie Smith. Maidie Smith held the position of the first female Shire President from 1984 to 1987. Together with her husband, Morgan Smith, also a councillor, they shared a passion and commitment to the development of Australind and Leschenault. She led many significant initiatives, including the upgrading of the Australind Cemetery, the construction of the niche wall and the preservation of heritage graves. Her dedication also extended to the preservation of St Nicholas Church, located in Australind. Outside of her official duties, she actively engaged in community organisations such as the Bunbury Probus and Rotary Club, where she was honoured with the prestigious Paul Harris Fellow recognition. Her dedication, compassion and leadership undoubtedly made a significant impact on the lives of many, and her legacy will continue to inspire others for years to come. So, Vale Maidie Smith. Councillors, I also have another announcement in regards to item 12.3.12, which is the tower, the telecommunications infrastructure at Wokalup. I have been advised that administration will be withdrawing that report from today's agenda, and we will provide a response to those people that have done deputations and the like today in regards as to why this item is being withdrawn at this stage. Councillors, are there any questions in regards to that? Okay. For members in the gallery, that means that council will not be considering that item today, and our staff will be in contact with you. You're welcome to stay if you'd like to listen to the rest of the Oh, and before you leave, I just wanted to say that I wanted to offer you the opportunity to do your deputations today, so that councillors were aware of your position in regards to this item. So that is why I wanted to provided you that opportunity today.
Thank you. Can I make a comment?
Thank you very much.
Is it all right for me to make a comment?
No, we're moving on to other items,
Okay.
but staff will be in contact with you.
I don't want you to contact me. There's going to be no tower. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, councillors, we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. So we have a recommendation here for the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday, the 27th of February, to be accepted as printed and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that, councillors? Councillor Capra-Grego, a seconder. Councillor Kabani? Up there. Is there likely to be any discussion about this? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, receipt of minutes and recommendations from our committees. We have the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on Monday the 11th of March. We have an officer's recommendation that the minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee held on the 11th of March as printed be received. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Bromham, a seconder. Councillor Carboni, put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. The Audit Committee meeting held Tuesday the 19th of March. I need an absolute majority for this one. The officer's recommendation is that the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 19th of March 2024 as printed, and the recommendations therein be adopted, be received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Holly, seconder. Councillor Coleman. Any discussion? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. By absolute majority. Thank you. Alrighty, officers' reports, councillors. We are going to do an en bloc here. So for those new councillors and those in the gallery, this is where council will take a single vote on a number or a group of motions in lieu of voting on each motion individually. So we have them up on the screen. So with exception of 12.1.1, which is to do with the insurance at Brunswick River Cottages, 12.1.2, which is the lease at Binningup Beach Christian Youth Camp, 12.1.3, which is the local government reforms, and 12.5.1, the sport and rec plan. Are there any other items, councillors, that you would like to have withdrawn from the en bloc motion? I'll give you some time to have a look. So we're removing. Okay, councillors, so we have an exception resolution motion that with the exception of 12.1.1, 12.1.3 and 12.5.1, which are to be considered separately. The officer's recommendation is for items 12.1.4, 12.3.1 through to 12.3.11, 12.4.1 and 12.4.2 be adopted as council's resolution. So do I have a mover, Councillor Bromham? Do I have a seconder, Councillor Dickinson? Any discussion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving to 12.1.1, which is the insurance for the Brunswick River Cottages Incorporated. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Carboni, seconder. Councillor Holly, likely to be in discussion? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 12.1.3. Isn't that done there? Oh, correction. Okay, sorry councillors, we need to do 12.1.2, which is the Binningup Beach Christian Youth Camp lease. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Bromham, seconder Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 12.1.3, local government reforms, officer's recommendation as written. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dickinson, seconder Councillor Coleman. Yep. Any discussion? Councillor Coleman.
Yes, given the officer's recommendations.
Sorry, Councillor Coleman, just put your microphone on, please. Thank you.
Sorry. Given the officer's recommendations, on question 1, the officer's recommendation was yes. I suggest that we've got 8 out of 11 councillors work and therefore need to make necessary arrangements. So to give less than 24 hours notice to convene a meeting can be problematic for every single one of us. We actually need at least 24 hours notice to be able to get time off, staff, children minded, whatever it takes. I think less than 24 hours notice is unreasonable. On that particular question, would you like me to go through them all?
So are you speaking against this officer's recommendation or for?
Well, a bit of both.
Did you want to make an amendment to this item?
Do you want to do each question by question? because the recommendation is that we accept or reject the lot, and some are good and some are not, in my opinion.
Okay, Councillor Coleman, we'll deal with each question, okay, and we'll get staff to respond to your question, and then if you wish to make an amendment to the officer's recommendation.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So, as I said, the first one suggests...
Sorry, just bearing in mind that we're not debating, it's just, you're just after you're asking a question.
Yep, sure. So, can we reconsider that, given that 8 out of 11 staff members work, can we reconsider that 24 hours is really not long enough notice to call a meeting?
Yep, thank you.
And through the chair, I would just suggest that if you wanted to propose an alternative that as part of the submission we'd be able to do that. So if you were to propose an amendment on question 1, how many hours would be appropriate?
More than 24, perhaps?
It's a minimum of 24. It's a minimum of 24.
Yep, minimum of 24.
Okay, so if we notate that, and we'll go through your questions, and then we'll deal with, if you wish to make an amendment, at the end of your question time.
Thanks, Madam President.
Wait, Councillor Bronwyn, please.
Yeah, I'm just making a note. That does say a minimum of 24 at the present time.
Yep, thank you.
Is to be convened with less than 24 hours notice, John, it says.
Yeah.
Councillor Bronwyn.
Minimum 24.
Okay, question 2. Can we, are we able to just add in there that it is Western Standard Time? Because if, with the new reforms where we do not have to be in the state now to be able to dial in, meetings may well start earlier than 8 a.m. or 8 p.m, especially if it's over east. So are we able to just clarify that it is Western Standard Time that we're talking about, please? Okay. Let me see. Okay, question 4 talks about proposed requirements for urgent business suitable, where councillors can just be advised at the time that there's urgent business. However, if the business is urgent and has come to the attention of the President or CEO beforehand, either a text or an email to alert councillors to the subject of that urgent topic, I think would be prudent, so that we're not all blindsided. Are we able to change that to that, please?
Yeah, through the chair. Yep, if council agrees, that could be added as part of the amendment. For all of these, I think we're really asking for the opinion of council, and what we've provided in the report is really what we do is the status quo at the moment. So officers haven't put forward any suggestions that are outside of what we already do at the moment. So any suggestions are very, very welcome. Can I suggest that our minute taker who wrote the report edit the attachment as we go, and then we can provide that officer's recommendation or a motion to amend.
Sure, thank you. So question 6 says, is 11 p.m. an appropriate time for a meeting to be adjourned? Are we able to amend that to, I would suggest before 10 p.m, given that again we have a number of councillors work, the majority of councillors work. I would like us to consider, are we able to consider 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. as a cut-off time? As a reasonable cut-off time for when a meeting must be adjourned? Especially, for example, after today, if we were to go through till 10 o'clock tonight, go on. Question 9, the officer's recommendation was yes. Should any other questions be able to be asked after speaking? If it doesn't appear on the agenda, okay? I would like to change that. I'd like us to consider that questions can be asked if it doesn't appear on the agenda, because otherwise, if it never appears on an agenda, a question can never be asked. So I think that as we're serving our public, I think the question is reasonable, even if we have to take it on notice. I'd like us to consider that one. Question 11 said, should the regulations specify that a request to make a presentation must relate to an item on the agenda for the relevant meeting? I would suggest that although the officer's recommendation is yes, when we have concept forums, there is the opportunity for us to address stuff that's not necessarily on an agenda. So I'm not sure whether that was meant specifically internal or external. Perhaps we could get some clarification on that one.
Sorry, through the chair. Currently, members of the public can only make a presentation in relation to an item on the agenda. We were suggesting that that remain. So again, if you're suggesting that people be able to make deputations outside of the agenda, then we would change that in the amendment.
That would be my suggestion to be considered. Question 12 is 48 hours sufficient notice to administer an application form for a member of the public to present at a meeting? And the response was yes, the clarification being that the member putting forward an application would be notified on the day of the meeting whether or not they were granted that acceptance. I think that if they're going to present, if they're going to apply 48 hours in advance, the least we could do, or can we consider that we respond to them within 24 hours so that they have an opportunity to make arrangements for travel or presentation and get it to our staff.
Yes, and through the chair, we do already administratively respond to people making deputations that make those deputations before the time of the meeting. I think in this question it's really talking about people that come in on the day. However, we could make that note to the department. I'm not sure how that entered, I guess, that administrative task into the regulations, but it's certainly something we do as a matter of course.
Okay.
Anyway.
Thank you. Question 14 was, would 5 minutes be a suitable time for public presentations? Again, without, when I consider a concept forum, I would suggest that it depends on the complexity of the topic. We've had some presentations that have gone further, and I think that really should be subject to the presiding member's consideration of existing time constraints and the complexity of the topic to be presented, rather than restrict it to just 5 minutes. Question 21, it's a general principle that you can't speak twice on the same motion, and whilst I do agree with that, there's no provision to ask further questions in this particular context of reform. So sometimes a councillor brings up something that is really born of their experience and their higher level of knowledge to a certain topic, and I would suggest that we should be able to then at least ask a question based on that to help clarify our own decisions, which can often change based on other councillors' experiences. Question 24 said, is it appropriate for the presiding member to consider whether to allow a member to ask clarifying questions? The recommendation is yes. I would suggest that with the greatest of respect to our presiding member, any presiding member wouldn't know what the question is going to be, nor whether that member has experience in that particular field. So I would suggest that within reason and given time constraints, the presiding member should allow members to ask clarifying questions. And
through the chair, just to clarify, so you're suggesting that it not be up to the Shire President and that it should just be allowed generally in the regulations for a councillor to ask?
Yep.
Thank you.
My last question was question 31. Do you think any changes to electronic meetings or electronic attendance are required? The recommendation is no. I would suggest our answer could be yes. We, in this particular chamber, or both our chambers, we need adequate audio and visual quality. That needs to be mandated throughout all shires. Also, because we are not standing, if you're watching this on YouTube, it is extremely difficult to find out who's talking, which councillor or staff member is speaking. It's very hard for viewers to identify, and often the audio is not of good quality. So I think the changes that need to be required are that there is a mandated level of audio-visual consistent throughout all the shires. And my very last one is question 33. Should parts of the proposed standard apply to electors' meetings? It says no. And whilst I agree with that, I would like us to consider that electors' meetings should be conducted after work hours, i.e. at 6 p.m, they don't go very long, and it allows all of our represented ratepayers to attend, because at the moment, during work hours, most of them can't. Although I do note the last one was pretty good because they had a presentation, but I would suggest that either a 5 o'clock start where people could knock off a fraction early, rather than at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something. I would like to see us consider that as part of our reform. Thank you.
Councillor Coleman, there is certainly a number of changes and questions there. So the advice I've got from governments is that we move all of those, if you're prepared to put that up as an amendment to the officer's recommendation. So we will, if that's the way you wish to proceed.
Happy to. Happy to, Madam President.
We'll have to give time for our minute taker in order to get that all sorted for you so that you're happy with the wording. Thank you. How are we going, minute taker?
Could Councillor Coleman just read through what I've got down to make sure that I've captured it accurately, please?
Thank you. Question 12, administer a response within 24 hours to deputation request.
Is that, can I just clarify, is that to deputation requests and to questions, or do you just want that to deputations?
The reform suggests that to allow a person to make a presentation, to submit a request to, for a presentation at least 48 hours before the meeting. It also says to require the presiding member or CEO to advise the person by 12 noon on the day of the meeting, which I think is too long, is too soon, too late, sorry.
So just add a comment in there.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so Councillor Coleman has moved this amendment to attachment 2. Do I have a mover for this, councillors? Sorry, a seconder? Councillor Hitchcock. Okay, Councillor Coleman, did you want to speak to it any further than what you already have?
No, thank you.
Councillor Hitchcock? Okay, any speakers against the amendment? Okay, let's put this to the vote, councillors. Those in favour of the amendment? Against? 2. It's carried. That becomes the substantive now, so if we can go down to the substantive. Okay, so is it? Okay, so as you can read there, endorses the Shire of Harvey's feedback submission as detailed in attachment 2 as per the amendment that was just carried. So we have a mover and a seconder for that. Is there any discussion over that? Any further? All right, I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Against is nil, carried. Thank you. Boy, that took a little time. Thank you. So we will move now to Community and Lifestyle 12.5.1, which is the Sport and Recreation Plan 2033. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover for this, councillors? Councillor Coleman, a seconder. Councillor Carboni, thank you. Is there likely to be any discussion about this one, councillors? Councillor Coleman.
Okay, given previous comments, can we suggest that we are ready to start work on the installation of the cricket pitch, say the week after football finishes? So instead of waiting till summer per se.
Yeah, so Councillor Coleman, are you asking a question in regards to this report?
No, I suggest that we consider. I guess it's a question, isn't it?
Well, it's a question or it's an amendment to the officer's recommendation.
I'll move an amendment. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yep. What is your amendment, Councillor Coleman?
Okay, I'd like to amend the council's recommendation so that we are ready to start installing the cricket or preparation and installation of the cricket pitch the week after football finishes in September this year, rather than leave it as summer.
And would you seek clarification, Councillor Coleman?
Certainly.
Through the chair, Councillor Coleman, can you clarify, is your intention to amend 2B of the officer's recommendation to include a requirement for the implementation plan to commence the work in some way?
Through the Director, Community and Lifestyle, I'm just wondering in regards to providing a definitive timeframe for implementation to commence 2 weeks after the football season. It may be difficult to achieve, noting that it needs to be procured and there is no guarantee that we would be able to meet that distinct timeframe. Any suggestions in regards to wording that may be able to be complied with?
Through Madam President, it is complicated. So the intent of the report was to make sure that we'd covered all bases when we came back to Council in May. For example, the turf wicket, the intention is actually not that the city would, the Shire I should say, would be doing the implementation. Actually the club would be doing the implementation. So my intent was that if the resolution was adopted, we would have been meeting as soon as possible with the club to talk about how we would go about implementing and delivering. There was other reasons that I really wanted to meet with the club pretty soon after. It's fair to say that this grant was 3 years ago. $200,000 is the budget. I suspect to deliver the 6 elements that are actually in the budget, it's probably more like $300,000 now. So I wanted to talk to the club about what the priorities were, what we should be trying to deliver now. I know that the wicket in the middle of Oval 6 is the #1 priority, I understand that. But there are other elements like a scoreboard, side screens, etc. that were part of the plan as well. So that was why I had worded it up so that we would give us a couple of months to sit down with the club and work through it. The reason I didn't want to have an implementation plan in this recommendation was because I felt like I needed council to confirm that they were happy with the cricket pitch being installed in the middle of Oval 6. Because I wasn't hiding from the fact that there is going to be some difficulties in doing that and not impacting on other sports. So that's why I really wanted to bring back the implementation plan in May.
So with that, Councillor Coleman, do you still wish to pursue the amendment to B?
Yes, I would, Madam President, because...
well, we'll just get the wording and then we'll go into the debate around it. So
okay.
Have you got your wording for the amendment?
That previous decisions of Council to support the creation of a turf wicket on Oval 6 at the Leisure Knoll Recreation Park be commenced within 2 weeks after the end of the football season 2024.
I presume we're talking about the Southwest Junior Football League, Southwest Football League. Any guidance there, Councillor Carboni, in regards to what football season would be impacted? Is it the juniors?
Junior football season, yeah.
And probably AFL would be a good point, because soccer these days is called football too.
AFL. Yeah.
So just seeking clarification, Councillor Coleman, you're asking for the construction of the turf wicket at Oval 6 to commence within 2 weeks of the completion of the Junior Southwest AFL season in 2024. Is that clear? Is that
yes, if that's the last of the football, if the Junior Southwest football is the last of the football, yes, that will suffice. Thank you.
All right, thanks councillor Coleman. So I need a seconder for this. Do I have a seconder?
For the debate, I will second it.
For the purpose of debate. Councillor Holly, thank you. All righty. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, and I do note that the work community development have done, and I, having made several phone calls to peak bodies, my understanding is that to install the cricket wicket, whilst that needs to cure for 1 or 2 years to be safe to use a cricket ball on, it does not prevent football using the ovals in any shape or form. They can run on it, do whatever they need to do, and so I think to delay the installation of the turf wicket puts us at risk, as we have heard today. It puts us at risk of losing funding and high reputational risk. So as community development rightly said, this has been sitting there for 3 years. We've now come to the last 7 months or so, and we really need to act on it. And I think to get the installation happening will be far more positive, both for council, for shire staff and for the public, instead of having yet another report. I do acknowledge that another report coming through about the ancillaries around the wicket may be necessary, and I do acknowledge those conversations may need to be had, but I think the installation of the wicket, which is the primary source of that funding that's necessary to equip, I think is most important for the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Councillor Holly, did you wish to speak?
Well, I would like to say something, Madam President. The discussion is being around at the moment, and we haven't decided whether the pitch will go there. Is that, am I true in saying that?
So you're asking a question?
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
CEO?
Madam President, if we adopt this report tonight, where the plan is stating that the pitch will go there. So that's why it's been held off for this determination, because the plan recommends the third pitch going on Oval 6. So yes, if you adopt tonight.
All right, do I have a speaker? Councillor Holly, did you wish to continue speaking for? Any speakers against this motion? Councillor Carboni? Oh, just hold on, Councillor Carboni. I've got a question here. Councillor Capobrego, then I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is, if we go ahead and put the cricket pitch in, and then if it takes, I'm not an expert on cricket pitches, if it takes 2 years to cure, and we're going to play football, whether it be juniors or whoever's playing on it, over that 2-year period before the pitch is ready to play cricket on, is there risk of damage to that investment?
CEO?
Madam President, I'm absolutely sure that the pitch would be best left on its own without anything else happening, just being prepared. But I am aware that the club acknowledges that the approach that was put to me was year one, install, the winter season football will be played on at year two. They would just continue to monitor and improve it, water, etc. And year two again. So it would actually be 3 summers before it's played on. So, but I'm pretty sure if you could leave it idle, it would be better for it.
Councillor Carboni.
Thank you, Madam President. I've received numerous, in fact dozens of emails about this turf wicket going on Oval 6, and it is the strong view of Harvey Brunswick Junior Football Club as well as the Senior Football Club that this turf wicket does not go on Oval 6. Now Oval 6 is, anyone who's been there at any day of the week when they train or play footy there sees how many people go there and use this oval for football. So I'm dead against this turf wicket going there on Oval 6. I don't care if we lose the funding and it goes back. to be quite honest. Now, Harvey Brunswick Juniors is owned by the seniors, is controlled by the seniors. The senior club controls the junior body. That's the way it is in the Constitution. And they feel that strongly about this, and if you were to tie this oval up for the turf wicket to cure, as you just stated, for 2 years, Harvey Brunswick will pull the juniors back to Brunswick and we'll play them there on Saturdays. Now you have to ask yourself, will the LSA survive without the canteen running there when there's 600 kids playing there from Auskickers through to year 12s, with no canteen running, with no one going there to that LSA? So is it worth having a turf cricket there for half a dozen people to sit there and watch cricket, or is it better to have it as a premier footy ground in Australind where 600 people, and on any given day that there's a game of footy there, you can see that grandstand's packed to the rafters and the car parks are full. So I'm against the turf wicket going there. I'm pretty sure I circulated an email from the junior sporting body as recent as early this week that outlined all the reasons why it shouldn't go there. So I'm dead against this motion. And the advice I got from you, Madam President, before the meeting was that this was only a plan if we voted on it. That's why I seconded the motion, and that it would still have to come back to council to get voted on. If that's not the case, if you're saying, Director, that if this gets voted on tonight that it's all go, well then I'm against this motion. I'll vote against this motion.
Clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, look, and Councillor Boney's probably picking me up on my wording. The reason, obviously, I say that is because it takes us to the next stage, which was the implementation plan. Council is always capable of revoking any decision it makes until such time as it's implemented. So Councillor Carbone is absolutely right in that regard. What I was really implying was tonight's the night. In my view, tonight would be the logical night to say yes or no to the cricket wicket. The implementation plan was really to come back just to acknowledge how we would go about doing it.
Okay, and I'll just clarify your comment there, Councillor Carbone, that my interpretation of this would have been that it was the implementation plan would come back, and that's where council would make that determination in regards to that.
Can I just clarify though that the officer's recommendation states that we will support the creation of a turf wicket and then provide an implementation plan. So I would suggest that if council was against the installation of a turf wicket, it would need to remove Part B in its entirety and then also state that it does not support the installation of a turf wicket. And that's if this amendment is not passed, but can still be enacted on the substantive motion with another amendment.
Okay, so do I have any speakers for the amendment? Any speakers against the amendment? Councillor Coleman, did you want to finish up?
Thanks, Madam President. As part of the recreational park, there are 8 members to that consortium, and 7 of them are in favour of the cricket pitch going in. So the cricket pitch can go in. Football and soccer can use the pitch. It is just not, when I say cured, it's not going to be hard enough to bounce a cricket ball off safely as a cricket ball. It can certainly be used once it's installed by other clubs. And there's only one group of, one member that is against the installation of the pitch on Oval 6. So I would recommend that to councillors to consider our reputational and financial risk. We know how hard it is to get grants. We know how hard it is to keep the reputation going with the amount of projects. This has been sitting on the books for 3 years. I strongly suggest that we need to proceed with this in favour of the 7 members and the other community members that want it.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. So I'll put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Against? It is carried. So that forms part of the substantive motion now. Okay, councillors, will there any further debate or discussion over the substantive motion as it stands now? Councillor Capogrego.
I just got a question and I seek clarification because I'm a little bit confused about the debate. So we're going to put a cricket wicket in and we're going to leave it cure for a couple of years and play cricket on it. During that period, it's coexisting with the football club. And I don't understand what the problem is if footy plays on it in the summertime, in the wintertime, and cricket plays on it in the summertime. And I'm missing something here, and it's clouding my judgment here. So we just said that it won't get damaged. You can play on it, look after it. So can someone please explain to me what the problem is after the period of cure?
The fact that we've already put this to the vote and the resolution is now carried, but I will allow Mr Newman to answer
that
question for you.
Through you, Madam President, there's the ongoing argument about the coexistence of football and cricket on the same ovals. People my age will remember it was pretty common. It's slowly become less common. There's no doubt about that when the cricket pitch is in the middle and it's wet, it becomes extremely muddy surface. Anyone who wants to go back and watch the old AFL games will note that. There's also some concerns about the hardness of the pitch for the footballs, if that forms, particularly in those modern times where there's head injuries and it's been talked about so much. So there are concerns, and there's been plenty of times that, and I hope we don't rue this down the track, that cricket pitches have been moved out of football ovals because they just couldn't coexist successfully together. Can I just say, Madam Chair, I know we voted on this, and you're right to vote on it, and the issue has always been the council has somewhat committed to this project in a couple of occasions over the last 2 years, so it wasn't a very easy report for us to write. Obviously you really would hope this to work, and to work effectively it needs the clubs cooperating together.
Right, councillors, so we have a substantive motion in front of us, so I'll put this to...
We don't have speakers on this?
Yes. Yes.
I'll speak against it.
Okay, do I have a speaker for it? Against? Councillor Carboni.
I'll just pick up on Councillor Coleman's points before, and maybe there are 7 clubs in the LSA that have voted for this. But ask yourself which club bankrolls the LSA, and it's the junior football club. You've just taken away the LSA's income source for the next 2 years, taken it away from that. That's going to make it very unsustainable, the LSA. This is just stupid, and you've just heard from the director. It's common not practice now that cricket pitches are taken out of footy ovals. They just can't. In this day and age, with the legal repercussions, with the injuries, and that, is just not worth putting clubs up for legal challenge if someone gets hurt or whatever. It's just, this is just a stupid decision. A shire in this day and age, putting a cricket pitch in the predominant footy oval in one of the fastest growing football areas in the south, if not the whole southwest, it's just beggars belief.
Do I have a speaker for Councillor Coleman?
As part of the research that I was doing, I spoke to the Cricket Association. I also spoke to Department of Sport and Rec, and their key priorities are coexistence of sporting fields. They're not funding standalone football ovals, standalone soccer ovals, standalone cricket pitches. It's just not happening. And we've seen evidence today and in previous budgetary times, money just is not available for that luxury anymore. Not that it ever was. And the kids can still play on the football field. They can still play on it with the cricket pitch in the middle of it. They're not off there for 2 years unless they choose to. And the fact that 7 or 8 groups actually get along really, really well, 7 are in favour of this, I think says a lot for the maintenance of the grounds, for the management of those groups that I understand get along really, really well. So I think it's cloudy to say that those children cannot play on the ground, because they can. And I think that this is very much in line with the Minister for Sport and Rec's key priorities 23 to 25.
Thanks, Councillor Holly. Any speakers against? Councillor Holly?
Yeah, I just would like to say, and before, I would just like to say, and this is before Craig mentioned any numbers, that we seem to be bending over for a group of, say, 50 cricketers that can use that oval on a weekend, compared to what I thought would be 200 or 300. So it was quite a substantial amount more. We rope off every other cricket pitch around the area, even if they're not in the middle of a cricket field, a football oval, for the winter season to protect it. And I think in 2 years' time, and I'm not a greenkeeper, but in 2 years' time, I reckon we'll be still waiting for the wicket to cure. I really do. And I think during the summer, where the seasons are growing, the heat of the summer, we are asking for trouble with injuries onto that onto a cricket pitch in 4 years' time when it's hardened. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Do I have a speaker for Councillor Dickinson?
Thank you, yes. I think at the moment the discussions have been focusing on Oval 6, but we've got other recommendations here that we have to approve as well. And the Sport and Rec plan is a very significant part of the Shire and facilities that we have to provide. We've asked our groups to provide that feedback for us, and I think that it would be prudent of us to acknowledge their input that they have by adopting the recommendation tonight. That's the only comment that I'm going to be making, but I think that we need to give direction to our sporting organisations, doesn't matter what code it is, of our level of support.
Thanks, Councillor Dickinson. I'm up to speakers against. Councillor Bromman?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, through the Chair. Look, I think we're all after the best outcome for our community, so I don't think there's any issue, regardless of what side you're taking in this debate. To me, I was up there today and I looked at it and I went, the major oval number 6 is the one that we're talking about. Is predominantly used for football at the moment, but there are plenty other ovals up there within view of the facilities there that would allow for a cricket pitch to go in there and not impact the football or the soccer. So I don't see why we are putting something in place in a predominantly football oval that could cause injuries to young people in the future, when we could put it on another oval very close and make sure that that didn't occur. So from an occupational health and safety point of view, I look at it and think we should be making sure whatever we do, we put the cricket pitch in a place where it's not going to impact adversely on people's health.
Okay, I've lost where I'm up to. Speaker for or against? I'm up to against. I wish to foreshadow a motion if this one is lost. So if there are no other, Councillor Capra-Grego, my apologies.
Thanks, Madam President. So I'm supporting the motion under the provision that when I asked the question earlier, I felt comfortable that the investment that we're making on Oval 6 wasn't going to get damaged. We weren't going to be tearing it up in 3 years' time because it's too hard to play football. That the people that are playing on that oval could coexist. But I see the debate is now saying that they can't coexist. It's from a safety point of view. So in one hand, when I asked the question earlier about the damage and the coexistence, it was yes. But now I see that the tide's turning. So I don't believe that we can have an oval for every different club. We can never afford that, and we have to coexist. And the junior football team have to work away and have to play on that oval as well as the cricket. And soccer might rock up and say, hey, we want to play because we've got a big team coming and we want to play in front of the pavilion. And we will probably allow that to happen. So I speak for it because I want sporting clubs to coexist and that we share the facilities, because otherwise this Shire hasn't got enough money to fund all these ovals. And somewhere else, you know, people are going to miss out. And I think that all kids should have the opportunity to play sport, whatever sport it is. So I support this on the proviso that what I'm hearing tonight is that we can coexist. And I'll be pretty upset in 2 years' time if we decide to pull that cricket out, because it can't.
Alrighty, I think I'm up to speakers against the motion. 4. All right, councillors, we're going to put this to the vote. All those in favour?
Just excuse me for one moment, if I may, through the chair.
No, we're putting it to the vote now, Councillor Holly. So
I don't quite understand it, that's all.
Okay. It's on the screen, Councillor Holly. I will give you time to have another look at it.
Thank you.
You comfortable now, Councillor Holly?
Yes.
Okay, councillors, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 4. Carried. Thank you, councillors. Alrighty. We'll now move on to item 13, which is the elected members' motions of which previous notice have been given. Councillors, I have a notice of motion in relation to the office accommodation. However, I need to progress the revocation motion first before we can move this one. So I'm up to, all councillors with me? Yeah. So I have a revocation motion here that's been signed by 5 councillors. And the reason for it is to provide additional workstations for Shire employees. So this is in relation to a decision of council that was made on the 28th of November, as per the motion that's in front of you. It was carried 10-1. However, in order for me to move the my notice of motion, we need to revoke this one. So I've moved it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillors, is there likely to be any discussion around this one? Councillor Coleman?
Sorry, just what's your motion that you want to replace it with? Sorry?
It's in the agenda, so it's to do with requests that the CEO convert the Australian Council chamber for office space for Shire offices in its entirety.
Sorry, thank you.
You okay with that one, Councillor Coleman?
Yep.
Yep, okay then. So councillors, is there any discussion around the revocation motion? We've got a seconder for Councillor Bromham. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors, by absolute majority. So we have a notice of motion now that we will discuss. I'm happy to move that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Holly. Thank you. I'll speak to this, councillors. As you will recall, there was some discussion and a decision made of council last November that we would portion off part of this council chamber in order to accommodate 8 staff. On further discussions, the CEO has identified that we in actual fact need more office space, more desk space for our staff. So I've put forward this notice of motion that we convert this chamber here into office accommodation that will create 21 workstations, and that we, for a period of time, conduct our ordinary council meetings and the like in the Harvey chambers. I also note that there is existing funds allocated in the current budget for the previous notice of motion, and that will be made available for converting this office, this space here into office space. So I ask councillors, in order to address the shortage in workstations for our staff, that we convert this chamber into the 21 workstations for staff, and we conduct our council business in Harvey chambers for a temporary time. Okay. Councillor Holly, did you wish to speak to this as seconder?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to say that I think we're doing the right thing. The right thing, because you noticed today with the galleries that we had earlier on, I think to cramp this room with only half the space, or albeit thereabouts, I think we certainly are doing the right thing to keep the Shire on a professional, a real professional for the meeting. So I think we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Is there any speakers against this notice of motion? Speaker for? Happy to put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Okay, I'll now move on to Councillor Caboni's notice of motion. We have a mover, obviously Councillor Caboni. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Holly? Thank you. Councillor Caboni, to you, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. And I say from the outset with this motion, I haven't spoken to Councillor Campbell about this at all. And this motion is not about Councillor Campbell, it's about the position of Shire President. And as you know, the Shire President's role, certainly in my time on council in 12 years, has gone from somewhat of a smaller role to a role where today it's virtually a full-time role. And as we've heard earlier today in the meeting, she's required to meet with members of Parliament, other council representatives and state government representatives all over the state. So I think it's time this Shire is a Tier 2 council, and there's many other councils, City of Bunbury included, that provide cars for their Shire presidents or mayors. I think it's time that we made provision in the budget for a Shire vehicle to be used by whoever the Shire president is at the time. Now maybe it's the case they don't want to use it, and like the existing arrangements where they claim travel allowance. And that's fine if that's the case, but I still think that we should have provision that whoever the Shire President is at the time, if they need a Shire vehicle, or want to use a Shire vehicle instead of wearing their own one out, that the council should make provision, given that it's virtually a full-time role now, that provision should be made that they can use a Shire vehicle with a fuel card to attend events and use for Shire business.
Thank you, Councillor Caboni. Councillor Holly, did you wish to speak?
Just that I think it's a given as well, mainly because a family car that a president may be using, I think the wear and tear on the family car is probably not the thing. We are paying for it in a roundabout way now with kilometres, etc. So yeah, I concur with what Craig was saying.
Any speakers against? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. And again, without any reference to yourself, and certainly no offence meant, the Shire President gets in excess of $80,000 a year plus fuel, plus expenses, far greater than the rest of us. And yes, they carry a bigger load than the rest of us, but that's what you sign up for when you get it. We've just had hours and hours and hours of trying to cost cut throughout the Shire. So are we going to cost cut sport and rec? Are we going to cost cut all sorts of other things and then give the Shire president, and it won't be a $46,000 car. I mean, a couple of the cars we've just replaced are way over that amount of money. So I think that it's a really bad message at the moment to say we're going to cut precincts, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We can't afford to do all of the things on our wish list, and it is a big wish list, over the next 10 to 20 years. To go from that and then say, but by the way, we're going to give the Shire President, who already earns $80,000, far more than many people in town earn, I would think that's a really bad message to send to give them a car as well.
Speaker for? Speaker against? Question, Councillor Capra-Gregor.
You just have a question. Does the Harvey Shire Council have pool vehicles as part of our fleet? By saying pool vehicles, are vehicles that are available for anyone, any staff to opt to use?
Through the Chair, most of the vehicles are allocated to officers, and because we're spread out, we're here in Austria, we're in Harvey, it's difficult to park these vehicles up at the depot, say, and there's nowhere really secure to park them down here. So they're allocated to an officer as a custodian of that vehicle. Obviously the operational vehicles are parked up at the depot at night, but that's where the staff mobilise from the Austrian depot and the Harvey depot. So we don't normally have pool vehicles. Sometimes there's some vehicles parked up at the depot when people are on leave and stuff like that, and they're usually the pool vehicle, but generally they're allocated to individual officers.
Thank you. Question?
Question, Councillor Bronwyn.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, through you. This one, as far as a vehicle is concerned and going to Perth and meeting government ministers, etc., would this be done with the President in isolation, or would you be travelling with the CEO most of the time?
We try to coordinate our travel as much as possible. But yeah, there's obviously some meetings that the Shire President would be attending throughout the Shire and other areas in the southwest without the CEO.
Thank you.
Any speakers against? I think I'm up to.
Just a question.
Question, Councillor Junior.
It's just a bit awkward, isn't it? Like coming from as councillor, offering this, but just quick question, how do you feel about this personally, Madam Chair, this motion to, I'd like to know your own opinion because this, I think, affects you, so I think it's a legitimate question to ask.
I will respond to that in that, as Councillor Carboni indicated, it's for the position, not actually for me, so it's for the position of the Shire President. So that you are aware, I do claim some travel on significant mileage, and I try and carpool when I can. So for those councillors that live down the southern end of the Shire, if we're meeting in Harvey, I'll generally carpool with in order to make savings. So I'm very cognizant of the mileage that I claim, and I think at the end of the day, without going into debate, it is really up to who is sitting in this chair at the time, whether they would want a vehicle or not. If you're asking me, it is no. Yeah, as I said, I try to carpool as much as I can and only claim on significant mileage and use travel with staff when there's the opportunity to do so. Does that answer your question, Councillor Junior? Thank you. All right, I forgot where I'm at to now, so I'm going to run with any speakers for, sorry, and against. Councillor Junior?
Yeah. I think with all the concerns about finances at the moment with homelessness and just the budget getting overblown, I think it'll be quite good for our shire to be in the same mindset as most of the ratepayers are at the moment, so I would be against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Junior. If there's no other discussion, back to you, Councillor Caboni. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. And the rhetorical question I put, when is it a good time to do this? I've been here 12 years on council. When has it ever been a good time to put rates up? In 12 years, it's never been a good time to put rates up. It's never a good time to do anything like this. But for the position of President, for the prestige that it has, and the pittance that she gets, the $80,000 that she gets for running a $100 million empire, pales in insignificance as what a person in this position will get in private enterprise. Now, like I said, it's about the position, not the person, and whether Councillor Campbell wants one or not. Presidents come and go. One was here tonight that's come and gone. It's about the position and putting a provision in the budget for this so that if someone wants to use it in the future, they can. And to correct Councillor Coleman, she doesn't get fuel. She can claim mileage, but she doesn't get fuel given to her. So I just think it's a no-brainer. It should happen. Other councils do it around WA, and I think we should be doing the same. If we want to be a professional council, let's be professional. And it's never a good time to bring anything in. It's never a good time to put councillors' allowances up. It's never a good time to put the Shire President's allowance up, buy a car or put the rates up. So, you know, sometimes you've got to make decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Caboni. On that, we will put it to the vote. All those in favour? 2, 3. Against? 6, 3. Lost. Thank you. Okay, notice of motion for the following meeting. Councillor Caboni has put forth the following motion, not notion.
As well?
As well, yes, that's up on the screen. Alrighty, reports of members. One's in there, and I gather councillors hopefully have put theirs forward as well. New business of an urgent nature introduced by the decision of the meeting is nil. Matters behind closed doors, we do have a confidential item, so I will move that we move behind closed doors. If I have a second, Councillor Brommer, put it to the vote. Okay, thank you for those that are returning from, that are watching online. I'm pleased to announce in regards to the awarding of the contract Yarloop Steam Workshop that Council has agreed to award the construction management contract to Perkins Builders for stage 1 of the project. Being no more further business, thank you councillors and staff. It's been an extremely long day. And